Hey everyone, so I've had the Mr. Stacky for some time, so I thought I would do my review of it. Now, we won't be setting this up today. I've already set it up in the past, so I'll link a video there in case you're interested in how to set up the system. So today I'll talk about the design, the build of it, my experience with moisture and drainage and nutrients as well, and my opinion on who this might be a good fit for. So why don't we start with the design. So as you can see here, it is a 5-tier system, and it does also come with a little drip pan at the bottom. Now for disclosure, this is the regular standard size Mr. Stacky. There is also a large variant as well. This one holds about 25 quarts, whereas the large one holds 68. Now, might be hard to see here, but I like to think of each pocket. This isn't a red Solo cup, but it kind of gives you an idea of the size of the pocket. So I like to think of each pocket being the size of a red Solo cup. And there's 20 pockets in total, although since I didn't use the support beam in the middle, I planted another succulent at the top of there, so I have 21 plants all in total here that I could use. Now, these are very lightweight, and it is made of food-safe plastic, so that is something to consider there as well. I find that I am easily, with one hand, able to lift one and then place it back down in case I needed to, and so very easy to handle around in case you need to move it. Now, there are holes underneath each one of these layers. I'll lift this up to show you. You'll see that the holes are all either the middle for the support beam. If you do go over 5 tiers, I would recommend using the support beam. I'm at 5, and I find that it is perfectly safe, and I've had a little bit of wind recently too. And then you'll see all these other holes as well down the center. You'll notice that the pockets themselves really don't have a hole to drip down to the next layer. So really it's all in the middle. This is the closest hole to the pocket. So that means whenever you're watering, which is going to be our next topic here, the water will not drip from here down to this pocket. It's all going to be in the middle over there. So now when it comes to watering, because all the holes are in the middle, it is designed to have the water come down from the top and then trickle down and be absorbed through the middle of the system. Again, you're never going to see any of the water come out of the pocket and down to the plant. It will go through the middle, which I actually kind of like. And the reason for that is I can actually water from the top, and then all the other layers will get moisture as well. In the beginning, I would recommend watering the pockets because the plants need time to grow their roots towards the center. But once they reach the center, you can just water from the top and everything will be fine. Now, on the note of layers though, the top does dry faster because it doesn't have another layer to insulate it from. So the top does tend to dry a bit faster. That's why I have succulents. And then the other layers over there tend to stay a bit more moist. I do find that in terms of watering, it'll depend on what type of plants. So the peppers tend to soak up a bit more, and I find that they start wilting a little bit around day 2-ish. The other layers though, the strawberries, are usually pretty good for 3 days. So that's something that I've found useful as a gauge. All right, so next we'll move on to nutrients. So kind of continuing on the theme of how it is a bit smaller, it does mean that there are limited nutrients. So this is only 25 quarts with 20 plants. There's a little over 1 quart per plant. I find that herbs, as you can see here, got some rosemary and thyme here, and I've got a lot of strawberries and the succulents. Most of these plants are doing well. But if you see here, my bell peppers do look a little bit tiny. So they're not as big as I would like. And bell peppers are definitely heavier feeders. So if you don't fertilize often, you may not have as much luck with some things like peppers or tomatoes. I didn't grow tomatoes here, but I imagine they would also struggle due to them being very heavy feeders. So you can, not that I'm saying you can't, but it just means that you're going to be fertilizing very often just to keep up with its demands. Whereas if you had a larger system, you would not have the same problem. So last thing I'll cover is, who I think this is for. Honestly, I think this is a solid system. The plastic feels great. I didn't mention it earlier, but it's pretty sturdy. And I think that this is great for beginners, people who want something compact. Maybe you're moving constantly, and so you want something a bit more mobile. It technically doesn't have wheels, but it's super light that you can carry each layer individually. So it's great for if you need to move it around the balcony or your backyard, or if you're looking for a cheap entryway to get into gardening. This the standard system costs $17. The larger system costs $68, but that means you get bigger pockets and more nutrients and more plants that you can potentially grow for it. Now, this might not be a great fit if you're looking for something low maintenance, unless of course you plant low maintenance plants. You're gonna have to water quite a bit often because the system is small. You'll have to fertilize often as well in case you have some heavy feeding plants. So that is something to consider. But for the trade-offs, for the cost, this is a compact, budget-friendly. We shouldn't be comparing this to other towers like the Greenstock or the Garden Tower, and those cost over $100 each. This one is $17, so much more reasonable from a price perspective, but also we need to be reasonable on what it's capable of as well. So hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment and I'll do my best to answer it. Thanks, everyone.